Aloha, everybody. This is Tiggy Maximus with Tiggy Maximus Talks on Spotify and YouTube. This is episode 194. Thank you guys for listening to this podcast on Spotify and YouTube. Keep spreading the word to your friends and family, everyone in between. And also, there's a link on my Spotify episode where it takes you to a window where you guys can donate to the podcast. Also, there's a link on my YouTube episodes where it will take you to the Spotify episodes, and you can make your donation through there as well. So in episode 194, guys, I'm gonna go over the Chargers 2024 NFL schedule, and I'm gonna tell you what I think is going to happen for all 17 games, and quite possibly what might happen, how their season is going to end in 2024. And also, I'm going to talk about two comedy shows for you guys. One is a show at the Good Bar. Headliner Jarwan Nelson, part of the Cackles comedy show. With Victor Paz and Shane Chase. That was from August 28th. And then I'm going to talk about one show out at El Cajon, Main Tap Tavern in El Cajon. Part of the 40 ounces to funny. Produced by the one and only Tommy Lacerda. And he has his headliner, Jimmie Menezes. Let's get started, guys. First things first. Chargers. So last season, I believe they had finished their season 5-12, missed the playoffs. I think they were in last place of the AFC West Division. Justin Herbert just so happens to have hurt both of his hands. One got stomped on. One, I think he hit his hand on someone's helmet during a game. So he had two bad hands. Save him for next season, 2024. And in doing so, the Chargers ended up pretty much losing every single game, from 5-7 down to 5-12. It's unfortunate. I think at one point, it was the start of a losing streak of, I believe, 5 in a row. I believe they were 5-7. And what started that 5-game losing streak, when they could have been possibly fighting for a spot at 9-8, 10-7. But at 5-7, they ended up losing their last 5 games. And it all started with losing 63-21 in Las Vegas to the Las Vegas Raiders. Ouch. I did not enjoy that game at all. I'm pretty sure I watched it to pretty much the very end because, I like to be suffering and self-inflicted pains of watching football, sports. So let's get into it, guys. Week 1, September 8th. Chargers are hosting the Vegas Raiders. Justin Herbert is going to be healthy starting week 1 for the Chargers and leading the way against what seems to be Gardner Minshew is going to start for the Raiders. And I don't know. Raiders do have Brock Bowers from Georgia. They just drafted him in the first round with the first pick of their NFL draft. I think he probably was, I don't know, probably top 15. Chargers had a chance to draft Brock Bowers at, I think, number 3 or 4, but Chargers ended up getting Joe Alt. Big offensive lineman, supposed to help out protecting Justin Herbert so he can be healthy, be upright, make better decisions, while giving himself more time to think what's transpiring on the field. Watch his receivers, tight ends, running backs, run the plays, see who's open, get big chunks of yards. But it seems like new coach Jim Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, I think he's going to do pretty well putting together this team, gain some weapons, build around star quarterback Justin Herbert, and make Justin Herbert earn that big contract of his. So, first week, Chargers beat the Raiders. Chargers will beat the Raiders week 1. Week 2, Chargers are going to visit the Carolina Panthers. They got second-year number 1 pick, former number 1 pick, Bryce Young. Not sure how strong the Panthers are going to be this year. They're still rebuilding after starting to build around Bryce Young. They probably have some decent running backs. Not sure how it's going to go with the receivers, but I would say that NFC South Division that they're in is going to be pretty wide open. Anyone could win it. I mean, I'm probably guessing the Atlanta Falcons are the favorites, but who knows what the Buccaneers, the Saints, the Falcons, or the Panthers are going to do. Someone has to win that division. So I think with a healthy Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh at the helm, I would say Chargers are off to a good start. They're going to beat the Panthers and Carolina and go up 2-0. Third week, the Chargers are going to have a tough test. They have to play in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Steelers. They do have a good running back in Najee Harris. They do have Pickens at receiver. And I guess right now the quarterback is going to be Russell Wilson. And the backup is going to be Justin Fields. That could be something. It could be a problem because, for one, if Russell Wilson is going to run around, Chargers never really liked that kind of quarterback. Never really could guard against that very well for most of the game. It's going to be a close one, but Chargers over Steelers week 3. Go up 3-0. Well, Chargers are going to be hosting the Kansas City Chiefs in week 4. And this is where I think the Chargers are going to lose at home. First loss of the season to the Chiefs. I think Chiefs are going to do pretty well in that game. It will probably be a shootout. I am probably going to say, I mean, it could go either way, but I'm going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs to beat the Chargers in week 4. Give the Chargers their first loss of the season. Week 5. Chargers are going to the Broncos. And Denver Broncos did draft Bo Nix. He's going to be the starter. And it could be a little tough going to Denver with a rookie quarterback, especially if they trust him to be pretty good right off the bat. And I think the Broncos do have Javonte Williams starting running back. But I think the Chargers are going to pull it out. Even though it's going to be high altitude, but the Chargers should win against the Broncos and go up 4-1. And then I believe we have a national televised game. Chargers are going to Arizona. They're going to be playing against Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football. And of course, Marvin Harrison Jr., the rookie, taking number 3. So I guess that means Chargers were number 4. Marvin Harrison, He's going to be a big threat at receiver. If Kyler Murray gets on the same page with Marvin Harrison right off the bat, it could be a problem for the Chargers. But also Kyler is getting off of an injury. He is healthy now, but how much of his legs is he going to use in that game to beat the Chargers? I would say this is going to be a tough game for the Chargers, mainly because I think the Cardinals are a better team the last couple years. But Chargers, I think they're going to pull it out. Utilize rookie Lad McConkey from Georgia. They're going to have Jordan Palmer. They're going to have Quentin Johnson. Hopefully he can bounce back from his very sub-average rookie season. Chargers do have Gus Edwards at running back and J.K. Dobbins at running back. So Chargers probably will be toe-to-toe with the Cardinals here. Might be a shootout. But I'm picking the Chargers to beat the Cardinals on Monday Night Football. So that takes us to 5-1. Chargers are hosting the Saints at SoFi Stadium in Week 7. I believe it's Week 7. Let's just say 7th game of the season. I gotta say, Chargers are gonna have probably another tough time with the Saints, but it'd be very competitive, very fun. Alvin Kamara is still on the Saints. Taysom Hill, a double threat, and I guess Derek Carr or Jameis Winston. I think they are still the 1-2 quarterback tandem there. So Chris Olave, he's still a threat. So if either Winston or Derek Carr, if that is the quarterback there in New Orleans, pass into Olave, and also trying to integrate Alvin Kamara, it's going to be a tough game for the Chargers, but I think the Chargers are going to win at home. So that's going to take us to 6-1 after 7 games. Next up, the Chargers are going to go visit Cleveland. They're going to play the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson is there. Nick Chubb is there. There's a guy by the name of Ford, running back. He's going to be complimenting Nick Chubb's Njoku at tight end. He is there, healthy. Browns do have some receivers. Browns did make the playoffs last year, so they're going to be a little bit tough. So this is going to be a tough trip for the Chargers. I mean, it's possible the Chargers might actually lose in Cleveland, but I am going to be confident here and say the Chargers will beat the Browns in Cleveland. So that will take us to 7-1. Next, the Chargers have 3 straight home games, starting with the Tennessee Titans. I think the Titans do have DeAndre Hopkins, but he's getting older now, very injury prone. And they don't have Derrick Henry anymore. So I gotta say, Chargers win at home against the Titans. That'll bring them to 8-1. This game, I'm planning to go to this game. Chargers are hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow is healthy. He does have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. So I got to watch out for that. But I think the Chargers can keep up in this kind of shootout game with the Bengals, and I think Chargers will beat the Bengals in this one. So that's going to take them to 9-1 after 10 games. So yeah, November 17th. I'll probably be at that game. Next game, special game, I believe. Chargers hosting the Ravens on Monday Night Football, I think it is. That's going to be a tough one. Lamar Jackson is too talented. He's going to run. He has Zay Flowers at receiver. They are probably going to run a lot. And since Lamar Jackson does like to throw on the run to guys like tight end Mark Andrews and Lively. This one's gonna be a hard one because Ravens got so close. They were probably a Super Bowl favorite. I think here the Chargers will probably lose to the Ravens here, so that's another home loss. But I gotta say, teams from cold cities coming to LA, SoFi Stadium, nice city, fair weather environment. You get to see a good matchup here. It'll be very competitive. It's going to come down to the very end, like most Charger games anyway. But I would say at this point, this is when the Ravens will deliver the Chargers their second loss of the season. So at this point, I think the Chargers will be 9-2 after 11 games. Next up, Chargers do go out. They're going to go on a two-game road trip. Going to go to Atlanta, play the Falcons. Falcons are going to have Kirk Cousins, or possibly at that time, Michael Penix Jr. Even though they gave a lot of money to Kirk Cousins, they did draft Penix in the first round. He's the quarterback of their future. They also have Bijan Robinson at running back. They have Kyle Pitts at tight end. So Falcons do have some weapons. They're not someone you can look past easily. I gotta say, the Chargers will probably beat the Falcons in Atlanta. It's gonna be a close game, and that will be their 10th win in 12 games. Next up, Chargers are going to Kansas City. This one, I think the Chargers are going to have a tough time in Kansas City. I think what's going to happen is the Chargers will pull out the victory against the Chiefs and split the series with them and go 11-2. And I got a feeling Chargers and Chiefs are going to see each other one more time for the trifecta trilogy of 2024. They're going to be in the playoffs. I have a feeling. And the Chargers are going to go back home, host Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Evans, I still believe, is on the team. He should be their top receiver. I don't know if Godwin is still there. Might have been gone somewhere else. But I think the Chargers will beat the Buccaneers at home. So that will take us to 12-2. Then the Chargers are going to host the Denver Broncos. Bo Nix should be well seasoned by then. Javonte Williams will probably still be their running back, but Chargers will beat the Broncos that time. They'll get up to 13-2. And then Chargers have to go to New England, face the Patriots. It looks like they got Jacoby Brissett back, but they also got Derek May in there. By that time, I think Derek May might be starting by that time, but I don't think there's anyone good on the Patriots at this time, other than maybe Hunter Henry and maybe some running backs. But I don't think the Chargers are going to lose in New England, so the Chargers should beat the Patriots to go 14-2 at that point. And then this one might be tricky because the Chargers have to go to Vegas to end the season in Week 18, and they're playing the Raiders. At that point, if the Chargers have already clinched the playoff spot, Chargers might pull their starters in the last week, giving the Raiders a lot of confidence that they're going to win this game. But if there's something at stake, like a playoff seed in, Just simply they just don't want to lose to the Raiders. I think the Chargers, um, they'll probably play everybody. That's just wishful thinking. And I think the Chargers will beat the Raiders. So, with that being the case, I'm going to say the Chargers are going to be 15-2 in 2024. And they're going to win. They're going to win. Kind of tough here. I think the Chargers will win the first round. But I think they're going to lose in the second round. They're going to lose to the Chiefs in the playoffs. And I think it's because I think the Chargers need one more season. Let me take that back. At 15-2, the Chargers should actually be number one. So the Chargers might not actually play in the first round. Who knew? So in that case, I think the Chargers will probably be. Yeah. So if the Chargers do play the Chiefs in the second round, yeah, okay, I can see it happening. Chargers will probably lose to the Chiefs in the second round. And then is probably going to set up Chiefs versus Ravens again in the AFC Championship game once again. And Chiefs will beat the Ravens, and then Chiefs will face the Lions in the Super Bowl. And it's going to be a close game in the Super Bowl between the Lions and the Chiefs. And I think the Chiefs are going to beat the Lions and be the first team ever to get the three-peat in Super Bowl history. So, yeah. I mean, the Chiefs are still in their prime. Mahomes is still in his prime. I don't know how anyone can really guard Travis Kelce. And apparently, they reloaded with some really good receivers with Xavier Worthy, Rashid Rice. Those two are probably going to lead the way as receivers and then be complementing Travis Kelce. And Pacheco is that running back where he can run and catch the passes. So Mahomes will make it work. Even though the Chargers might win the division, or if it's flipped, if the Chiefs win the division and not the Chargers, but the Chargers will face the Chiefs no matter what in the second round. But I think the Chiefs will beat the Chargers in the second round, winning 2 out of 3 in 2024. I wanted to say the Chargers probably will go undefeated, win the Super Bowl, be the first undefeated 20-0 Super Bowl champion, but I think the Chargers will lose at least 3 times this year, if not maybe a little more. But I think realistically the Chargers should win at least 10 games this year. But I think they can win 14. 15 is probably the max they're going to win, and then they're probably going to win 1 playoff game and then lose 1. So I'm projecting the Chargers will be eliminated in the second round. But of course, wishful thinking, if the Chargers do go all the way, hell yeah, Chargers win the Super Bowl. Can't wait. So that's it about Chargers football. Today is actually the first day of the NFL season 2024. Let's get into 2 comedy shows. So I did go to a comedy show, Good Bar in Point Loma, Jarwan Nelson was going to headline this show. Cackles is the comedy show run by Victor Paz and Shane Chase. Two great comics, two great guys. Shane went up, got things started. I don't remember much about his comedy because I think I probably I couldn't hear that well to start off the bat, and plus I was probably talking to Courtney and Vanessa and Victor. So because they were close by, I wanted to talk to them for a little bit, and I might have tuned out Shane, but that's only because there wasn't one particular joke that I didn't really pick up on. So I want to say he probably did 8 out of 10. I mean, I heard some laughs, but I don't think he blew anybody away. Now, next person that went up was Alan Maisel, Dr. Alan Maisel. I've seen him at the Regal in La Mesa, the Regal Bar. I probably had seen him at probably Comedy Heights, Lestats. He talked about being a doctor, talked about doing CPR, and I think he got some laughs because he was showing us how he does the CPR, and I think he talked about what happens if you're having a heart attack while administering CPR, and I think he acted out what would happen. He would act out what would happen if you were playing Simon Says and you had a heart attack, or if you're leading the Simon Says game and you have a heart attack. So he actually ended up coming all the way to the ground on the platform at the show, and I just so happened to take a picture of Alan Maisel sitting on the ground acting out what would happen if you were to lead Simon Says and you have a heart attack. So I want to say Alan was a 8.25 out of 10 for his comedy. Victor Paz was next. He got his time in there, and he was pretty funny. He talked about some family jokes, talking about his, I guess, being Latina. I can tell he got a lot of laughs during this thing, and he did pretty well. I want to say Victor Paz was a 8.5 out of 10. Christy Masitani, she told me before she went up that she knew that she was going to bomb, but she kind of wanted to go, and she did some crowd work. She did have a joke about afraid to date a black guy because if she ever has sex with a black guy, she's afraid that the black cock will come out of her nose. And everybody just laughed. And of course, Jarwan Nelson is in the back listening to the whole thing. So, that whole thing about the nose, the cock going through the nose, that was her funniest thing. Yeah, there were some parts I think she was trying to work out, but I think when she kind of tied everything together and she finished off pretty strong with the talking about the black cock coming out the nose. And I guess just because it just doesn't fit. Yeah, that was pretty funny. I want to say Christy was an 8.5 out of 10 for a comedy. Next, I believe we have Vanessa Dawn. She talked about getting pulled over, being drunk, and getting arrested for being drunk. She did get some good laughs, but I think it kind of mellowed out, maybe just a little bit during her thing. But you know, she connected pretty well with the crowd. I would say Vanessa was a 8.4 out of 10. Next we have Courtney Bird. I like it when she talks about how she watches the murder mysteries or true crime, and then she says there's a word to describe women who watches true crime or mysteries or true crime shows, crime documentaries, podcasts, and I guess she had a term for it. I think it's no, I don't remember. She had a funny term for it. The funnier term actually was what you would call women or people who don't watch true crime or crime shows or mystery podcasts. They're called victims, and that was a good one. Courtney, I think that she did pretty well. She was a 8.6 out of 10. She did talk about dating and how she can't pick up on social cues if someone's flirting with her or stuff like that. So, and then you got your headliner, Jarwan Nelson. Always a pleasure, always fun to see him. Great crowd work. He has some great jokes throughout his set. And then there was his crowd work, got some funny crowd work stuff. He got to know these three people in the front row. I think one was the landlord, one was the tenant, and then I guess the tenant's friend. And they all came out together. So, and then it was kind of interesting to hear about it because the tenant talked about he has sex at home, but the landlord says she can hear him having sex and knows his style and taste in women, and that everybody was curious. Thought that was a little peculiar that this landlord lady knows exactly what he's like, and it got everybody kind of curious, you know. It got to a point where the crowd work was going well, but then it got a little cringy. It was Christie's two friends in the back, and I guess of all the questions that Jarwan was asking the two ladies, because he kept going around the room, but the two ladies that didn't said that they were hoping that this conversation was going to stop. And then Jarwan did kind of go back to Christy at one point, talking about black cock coming through the nose. So a lot of interesting stuff, and I guess this is maybe that one time where the crowd work was super funny, but then it kind of took a turn for just kind of a dip in the excitement and how good the crowd work was. I've seen better crowd work at other shows he's been on, but this one, it was going pretty well, and then it kind of went a little south because of the questions, and plus the fact Christy's friends probably didn't want to keep continuing this conversation with Jarwan. But overall, I would say Jarwan did 8.9 out of 10. So overall, great show. I can't wait to go back again. I think the next show is September 25th. The headliner is Dre Loud, great guy, great comedian, and I think Shane Chase is going to be featuring on there. So I can't wait to hear his comedy at that point on September 25th, Wednesday at the Good Bar, Point Loma. So go and check out the show, guys. So I did go to another comedy show. I think it was Friday night. I think it's August 30th. This was one of two shows I went on Friday night, August 30th. On my next episode, probably episode 195, I'm going to talk about the other show I went to. It was Slumber Party, produced and hosted by Samantha Schwimmer at the Mic Drop. That was the other show, so I'll talk about that on my next episode. I'll probably also talk about, on that episode, Sofa King Funny. Sofa King Funny comedy show by Jennifer Mason. That was also the Mic Drop. I was at the Mic Drop a lot last week. So stay tuned for those two comedy show reviews for that. And but yeah, the first show I went on Friday, it was at the El Cajon's Main Tap Tavern in El Cajon, produced by Tommy Lacerdo. Tommy Lacerdo, he has some good jokes, talks about prison, talks about dating. He did have that joke about what was it? Reading lips. Going down on a lady and reading lips. He says the words ecliterate or something. But he got some good laughs. It was kind of chilled for maybe a quarter, maybe less than half of his set, but he got some good laughs though. I want to say Tommy Lacerda was 7.75 out of 10 for his comedy. Next up, first time seeing this guy was Nick Moore. Nick Moore talked about from being Arkansas, talking about how different it was between Arkansas and San Diego. Crowd liked some of his jokes. I would say he was an 8 out of 10. I did get to see Chuck Foster again. He got some good laughs for his jokes. Got to interact with people walking through the comedy show, from the pool tables and the bar coming into the patio where the show was. He did talk about 2 minutes of stand-up versus 2 minutes of having sex. He did kind of talk about Detroit, I think, and then he also talked about dating. I think he did a little bit of crowd work actually too. So overall, Chuck Foster 8.3 out of 10. And then next up was Taylor Locke. Taylor Locke. Well, he got up. He did have a joke about having a superpower, turning a block of cheese into liquid brown. But other than that, there wasn't much else that got laughs from people in the crowd. He did talk about Petco Park, the big Jumbotron, the fan cams, but it didn't get a lot of traction with the people in the patio. So it was a lot of like chill vibes going out during this set. So I want to say Taylor Locke was a 6.25 for his comedy. Next was Ace Murdog. Um, that was pretty funny. He talked about his mustache, talked about his personal life. He got some good laughs from the people there. I did notice that Ace Murdog actually had stood in the middle of the patio as opposed to right by the original spot of where the microphone was. So I think he took the microphone with him and went to the middle of the patio and talked to everybody. But he did a great job. Crowd liked him a lot. I want to say he was a 8.3 out of 10. Next up, we have the first of two out-of-towners from, I guess, close to San Francisco, Modesto. Vicky Beretta. She talked about being 4'10". She talked about her name is like the gun. She talked about dating guys. She talked about how it was kind of like a Where's Waldo thing, and every guy's concern was always losing her in the crowd. But she did talk about the guys that she dates, and she's also she goes both ways. She talks about women too. Apparently she has her type, and she told us what kind of guy she's going to go after. So overall, she was funny. Crowd liked her. I want to say that Vicky Beretta, she was an 8.4 out of 10. And then our headliner, also from San Francisco, Modesto, came down together with Vicky Beretta, Jimmie Menezes. And Jimmie Menezes, cool guy. Got to hear him talk about Star Wars, talk about dating. He did talk about his appearance and what he looks like, and the first thing I thought of was I think it was Ralph Fiennes. Yeah, I think it was Ralph Fiennes when he had the long hair in Star Wars, playing Obi-Wan Kenobi, a younger Obi-Wan Kenobi. So that was the first thing I thought of. But he didn't do too bad though. He had a few good jokes. People liked him. But then there were sometimes it was kind of chill. So overall, I want to say Jimmie Menezes, 8.1 out of 10. So overall, good show. I'm glad it came out to support Tommy, and it was kind of nice to meet Jimmie Menezes, Nick Moore, catching up with Chuck Foster, Tommy Lacerdo, and getting to know Vicky Beretta. What's cool is that they seem to like karaoke, Vicky and Jimmie. So I try to come up with some recommendations that are in the area right at the top of my head. Also food places. So I had a lot to share my knowledge. So they were really great people, and hopefully I get to see them down the road. So overall, yeah. Tommy runs shows there at the El Cajon Main Tap Tavern. Usually on Fridays. He might be doing Saturdays too. The show is like once a month, so check those out. So if you guys like comedy and you want to see a comedy show, go see Shane Chase, go see Alan Maisel, go see Victor Paz, Christy Massatani, Vanessa Don, Courtney Bird, Jarwan Nelson, Tommy Lacerdo, Nick Moore, Chuck Foster, Taylor Locke, Ace Murdog, Vicky Beretta, and Jimmie Menezes. Well, that's it for me, guys. I'm going to get out of here, get some food, and do some other stuff. And I will talk to you guys later. You know the saying goes, boom. Remember to share the podcast, listen to more episodes, spread the word. And I am a associate producer making my debut at the Mic Drop tomorrow night. At the Mic Drop with Gumbo, Jeremy Gumbo Christian, Gumbo and his friends. So that's 10 o'clock, Friday night, September 6th. Come out to the show. If you haven't bought a ticket already, go buy some before they run out. Yeah. Boom. Tiggy Maximus signing off. Baby. Alright, there we go, guys. Booyaka! Go Chargers. Go Chargers. Go Chargers. Go Chargers. Go. 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 Go Chargers. There we go, guys.